When we talk about India's freedom struggle, we remember the great leaders, the famous speeches, and the mass movements that shook an empire. But history has a habit of forgetting the ordinary people, especially the women, who gave their lives without ever asking for recognition. This is the story of one such woman, Matangini Hazra, who at 73 years old, walked directly into a hail of bullets holding nothing but the Indian flag. Born in 1870 in a small, impoverished village in Bengal, Matangini's early life was marked by hardship. She was married off as a child, only to be widowed by the age of 18, with no children and no inheritance. By every social expectation of her time, her life should have faded quietly into obscurity, another forgotten story in a forgotten village. But Matangini Hazra refused to live quietly under the shadow of injustice. As the fervor for India's freedom movement began to swell across the nation, she found her calling. Despite having no formal education, no political connections, and absolutely no protection, she threw herself into the cause. She was deeply inspired by the ideals of Mahatma Gandhi, embracing his principles of nonviolence and civil disobedience with unwavering devotion. Matangini became a familiar face in local protests, boycotts, and marches. She actively participated in the Salt March, defying British law by making salt herself. She spun khadi on her charkha, a symbol of economic self-reliance and a direct challenge to British-manufactured goods. Her spirit was indomitable. For her activism, British authorities arrested her multiple times. She was beaten. She was imprisoned. At one point during a protest, she was sentenced to 6 months of hard labor. But the beatings, the arrests, the imprisonment, none of it could break her will. Each time she was released, she would rejoin the movement with renewed determination. She was affectionately known in her community as Gandhi Buri, which means the old Gandhian woman, a title she wore with immense pride. Then came 1942. Mahatma Gandhi launched the Quit India movement, a final unequivocal call for the British to leave India for good. It was a call to do or die. Across the country, the movement erupted with an intensity never seen before. In Bengal, a plan was made to peacefully take over various government offices and police stations to establish a parallel independent Indian government. On September 29, 1942, in the town of Tamluk, Matangini Hazra, now a frail but determined 73-year-old, took her place at the front of a procession of over 6,000 peaceful protesters. Their destination was the local police station, a symbol of British authority. She walked at the very head of the procession, her back straight, her steps firm, holding the Indian tricolor flag high. The thousands behind her were unarmed. Their only weapons were their voices, chanting slogans of freedom and demanding that the British leave their land. As they approached the station, British officers emerged, blocking their path. They ordered the crowd to disperse. They shouted warnings. The protesters, led by this elderly woman, did not stop. A moment of tense silence hung in the air. And then the police opened fire on the unarmed crowd. The first bullet struck Matangini in the arm. She stumbled, but she did not fall. Crucially, she did not drop the flag. Witnesses from that day reported that she stood up again, her voice ringing out with the cry of Vande Mataram, Hail to the motherland. She kept walking forward, directly toward the guns, appealing to the police not to shoot at their own countrymen. A second bullet hit her, this time in the forehead. And then a third. She finally collapsed to the ground, her body riddled with bullets, but she clutched the flag to her chest until her very last breath. Matangini Hazra died there on the road, leading from the front, fearless and unarmed, a martyr for a nation not yet born. Her sacrifice was not in vain. The news of her death, of this elderly woman's ultimate defiance, electrified the region. The British had hoped to suppress the movement with violence, but they failed. Instead, her martyrdom fueled the flames of rebellion. Just days later, the people of Tamluk succeeded in their mission. They overthrew British rule in the area and established their own parallel national government, which ran independently for 2 years. Today, if you visit Tamluk, you will see statues standing in her honor. Roads, schools, and even a women's college bear her name. She is revered as a local hero. But outside of Bengal, her story remains largely unknown. Matangini Hazra never gave grand speeches from a podium. She never wrote books or led a political party. She was a poor, uneducated, widowed woman who simply stood up for what was right when it mattered most. She reminds us that courage has no age, no gender, and no need for fame or fortune. She didn't fight with weapons of steel. She fought with the unshakable weapon of conviction. She walked into history holding the flag of a nation that was unfree yet, but because of people like her, would be soon. If this story moved you, please share it. Because freedom was not won by a few famous names we all know, but by the combined courage of countless forgotten heroes like Matangini Hazra. Subscribe for more untold stories of history's unsung heroes.